All right, y'all. So let's rewind the clock back about 6 years ago. I was about 30, 31 years old. I was living in Osaka, Japan, running an Airbnb business. I was pretty much living my best life. You know, I was making plenty of money, eating the best Japanese food, soaking up the culture, partying all the time, meeting plenty of women. I was having a great time out there. I pretty much have zero regrets about the time I spent in Japan. You know, I was able to soak up the culture, like I said, even learn a little bit of Japanese. I made lifelong friends, people who I still communicate with today. Some people even on almost like a daily or weekly basis. So, you know, my time in Japan was spent extremely well. But there was one major problem about how I was living my life in Japan. I was extremely unhealthy. So I've always been somebody who's prided myself on being athletic and keeping myself in pretty good shape. But when I was living in Japan, for whatever reason, I just let the wheels fall off completely. So I'm 6 feet tall, and right now I'm weighing in about 185 pounds, which is, you know, a pretty healthy, good weight for me. But when I was living in Japan, I had got up to almost like 205 pounds, maybe even a little bit more. More importantly, my body fat percentage was around 20%. I remember one time I went to the gym when I was in Osaka, and, you know, I've always been somebody who's probably been around. Before I started doing calisthenics, I was always around like 15% body fat. And I remember going to the gym and I took like a body fat test there and it was like 20%. I'm like, what? Hold on, this must be wrong. But, you know, a lot of times when we're living unhealthy, you know, eating the wrong types of foods, drinking excessive alcohol, not getting sleep, we don't actually realize the compound effect that it's actually having on our bodies. So like I said, you know, I was not living my life healthy. I had practically no discipline. I had very few healthy habits. I would say the one or two healthy habits that I did have was that I was still getting a decent amount of movement every day. In Japan, I didn't have a car, so I was riding my bike everywhere, or I was walking or taking a train. Another thing is I used to go to the gym when I was in Japan. I wasn't super serious about it, but I would go to the gym about 3 or 4 times per week. So I still had a decent amount of muscle mass on me while I was living in Japan. It was just that I had all that excess body fat from, you know, nonstop partying, not getting any sleep, eating the wrong types of foods. I was eating way too much. I was eating like 3 big meals per day. I remember I used to love Japanese food so much that I literally used to just plan out my next meal. I'd be like, oh, I want to get this for breakfast. You know, lunchtime I want to get tempura fish. You know, dinner time I want to have some Japanese curry. And, you know, it just was extremely out of control. And another thing is, if you guys watch my channel, you guys know I have a sweet tooth. So, you know, I was going in on those Japanese sweets. So all in all, I would say I probably had about 80% of my day where I had unhealthy habits. I was eating unhealthy. I wasn't very active. I was drinking. I was around people who were, you know, smoking cigarettes. So I was getting plenty of secondhand smoke. I was smoking weed pretty much every day in Japan. And that's actually extremely stupid because in Japan, you get caught smoking weed or you just get caught with weed on you. They have like stiff penalties for that. Like they'll throw you in jail for smoking weed in Japan. But I was doing that pretty much every single day when I was in Japan, which was dumb. But like I said, you know, I usually live by the 80-20 rule. I try to do 80% healthy and then 20%, you know, whatever I want to do nowadays. But back then it was inverted. I was literally living like 20% healthy and then 80% was BS, unhealthy, partying, all that. So eventually, you know, the lack of sleep, all the alcohol, nonstop partying, you know, trying to juggle multiple women, it all caught up to me. It all got to a tipping point. So pretty much the whole time I was in Japan, I was actually in a relationship. But, you know, the way my mind was thinking back then was like, oh, this ain't a real relationship. She's just helping me with my Airbnb and, you know, we together and all, but, you know, I'm still gonna have my fun. I'm still gonna have my cake and eat it too. I'm still gonna have, you know, multiple women, as many women as I can handle, you know, so that was pretty much like my mindset back then. But what came along with having that mindset was that I was lying, cheating. You know, I was constantly making up stories, lying about where I was going, lying about who's texting my phone, lying about who I'm texting. It's extremely unhealthy on a mental and spiritual level when you're living your life like that. Nowadays, I'm the type of person who can't even make up little small lies. I feel that guilty about it. Even if I lied to somebody and told them that I was gonna be there in 10 minutes when I knew I wasn't gonna be there for 30 minutes. Like, to me, that's the type of lie I will feel bad about nowadays. But back when I was like living in that lifestyle that I was living in Japan, like, man, I was definitely, just full of shit. Another thing about my time in Japan is that I was living, almost exclusively for the external. I was caught up in the superficiality. I was caught up in the materialism. Every single week I was out shopping. I was always trying to buy some type of new clothes to make me happy. I was always, trying to get as many women as possible to kind of make me fulfilled or make me feel fulfilled. But none of that really makes you feel fulfilled. None of that really gives you true confidence. It just kind of is like that instant gratification form of it. At this point, my health is deteriorating. I'm only 31 years old. I'm having a hard time breathing. I could remember vividly, I was always having a hard time taking deep breaths. I was having an extremely hard time sleeping. I always had something on my mind. I never had any solitude. I felt like I was always overwhelmed with too many people around me. But ironically, I was always keeping people around me. I was always hanging out with friends, always with different girls. And if I wasn't doing that, I was always hanging out with my actual girlfriend. So I never had any solitude. So it was just a lot of mental clutter, a lot of toxicity when it came down to the things that I was putting into my body, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So, basically what that is just using crutches. I was using weed as a crutch. I was using alcohol as a crutch. I was using women as a crutch. I was using partying as a crutch. I was using materialism as a crutch. So, all these things are not gonna solve the problem. All they are is basically like taking a pill to kind of alleviate the pain. But really, you need to actually step back and do some work on yourself. All right, so fast forward maybe like a year, I ended up moving to Hawaii. In Hawaii, if you guys haven't, seen some of my content in the past where I speak about it, Hawaii is an extremely healing place. And I actually credit my move to Hawaii for my transformation on a mental, physical, and spiritual level. Like, Hawaii is super peaceful, beautiful nature, beautiful scenery. And if you can't find peace in Hawaii, man, I almost would say that it's gonna be difficult for you to find peace anywhere, because that's probably one of the most peaceful, healing places on this planet. But when it comes down to Hawaii, even though I made that move to Hawaii at first, I still brought a lot of my toxic habits with me to Hawaii. One thing my mom has always told me ever since I was a kid, no matter where you go, you bring yourself with you. And that was very true when it came down to my move to Hawaii. I was still doing a lot of the same things, trying to find as many women as possible, drinking on a nightly basis, so on and so forth, smoking weed, hanging out, going partying, all that type of stuff. I was still doing it all. But I would say everything came to a tipping point when I got caught cheating on the same girl who had this relationship with in Japan. In my eyes, I was just moving to Hawaii, but I was still going back and forth running that Airbnb business. But I ended up getting caught cheating on her, and it was kind of probably the most serious one of them all, because it was like almost extremely disrespectful. She had caught me cheating on plenty of other occasions, but this one was like, it was almost like I was just blatant. I just threw it in her face and like wasn't even tripping off. It was like, okay, whatever, so what? But then once I seen the reaction that it had on her, it really had a effect on me, a profound effect on me. I was like, damn, shit, I really hurt her this time. You know what I mean? So for me, it was almost time to start taking a step back. I don't know why. When that happened, I took that step back. I started I don't know what caused me to go on YouTube at the time, because I never really was a big consumer of YouTube content. But what I ended up doing is I started checking out videos on Dr. Sebi's diet, fasting, intermittent fasting. Then I started checking out little health and fitness channels, some calisthenics stuff, even some weightlifting stuff. And I just kind of wanted to get myself in a better place on that, in terms of just overall health. I think what drew me to health and fitness is the fact that I was only 31, 32 years old at the time, probably 31 years old at the time, and my health was rapidly deteriorating. I was like, man, if I stay on this pace, who knows where I'm gonna be at by the time I'm 40. It's like, if you constantly are drinking, putting toxins in your body, living your life the wrong way, 40 years old, I would have been doing bad by that time. So for me, I usually live by the motto of the blessings usually come at the bottom. So a lot of times when we're at our low points and, we've been moving on like a low vibration, a lot of times that's when we kind of find a lot of the blessings that we have in life. And one of them for me was the fact that when I was checking out all that information about fasting, you know, I wanted to start fasting. I wanted to get back to a comfortable weight. I wanted to lose some weight. So what I did was I started doing the intermittent fasting. And at first I really didn't realize that fasting meant that you can't have any calories. So I thought if I just stopped eating early and then I came home after work and still had a drink or two, you know, or I could start drinking a little bit early when I was on my off days, go to the beach, go kick it, have a margarita, whatever it may be. I thought that didn't count, but in all reality, the true fast means that when you're fasting, you can't have anything but water, black coffee. So what this forced me to do is actually stop drinking so much. You know, actually I completely stopped drinking for about a year and a half. You know, I was really committed to trying to get myself healthy. So for me, in order to prioritize that, I had to leave the alcohol alone. Like I was working a late night shift at the time. So in order for me to start fasting, I had to start fasting when I was at work. So that means when I got home from work, I can't have any alcohol. So I got used to not drinking, and the intermittent fasting really helped me kind of get away from that super unhealthy habit of drinking every single day. And you know, the compound effect of drinking every day is eventually you'll turn into an alcoholic. Luckily, I wasn't at that point where I was so dependent on alcohol that I couldn't just, you know, stop it cold turkey. But the fasting, I really credit it for really helping me, you know, get rid of some of these extremely unhealthy habits. And one other thing, if you guys smoke weed, you'll know that, you know, once you smoke, you're a little bit more susceptible to kind of giving in to your cravings. So say for instance, I'm somebody who loves sweets, right? So if I smoke a joint right now, there's a good possibility I might go downstairs and go have a cookie or something like that. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what happens when you smoke weed. So for me, that was one thing I had to give up as well. So I had gave up the weed, gave up the alcohol, and I actually had given up eating meat for almost 2 years as well. I went vegan for like a year, and then I went vegetarian for like another 6 months before I started incorporating eating fish and then eventually, you know, eating meat like I do now. So, you know, right now I'm not a vegan or vegetarian, but I do recommend for anybody who wants to go through like a mental, physical, spiritual cleanse, it might be a good thing to give up eating meat for a while. So now I'm at the point where, you know, I'm intermittent fasting every single day. I'm not drinking alcohol anymore. I'm living that, you know, that vegan lifestyle. So at this time I had like an abundance of energy. Like the weight was just falling off me. Like I had went from 205 pounds, and then in about 6 months I had got down all the way to like 169 pounds. I had lost a crazy amount of weight. I actually was too thin at that time, but it was still better than being at that 205 pounds, that heavy, you know, lethargic, not having a lot of energy type weight. So the intermittent fasting did wonders for me. And at this time I probably was doing a little bit of calisthenics because I had seen some of it on the internet. But what I ended up doing was just going full-fledged calisthenics. I had so much energy. I was like, man, let me go outside and just start hitting these parks. Quit my gym membership, started going to the park, hitting calisthenics every day. And eventually I just built up a great base, you know, a muscular physique that, you know, I was the leanest I'd ever been in my life. And, you know, doing the combination of calisthenics and intermittent fasting has, you know, helped me maintain that athletic physique over the years. And if you guys are interested in following the exact blueprint that I took with my calisthenics and intermittent fasting, I highly recommend that you go to my website. That's Travelsthenix.com. You guys can scoop up my 12-week program. It's called the Body Weight Movement Guide. That program is pretty much the exact blueprint of how I, you know, train calisthenics and how I progressed over the years. It's a 12-week program. So, you know, if you're at that kind of just starting out calisthenics level, but you've had a little bit of athletic experience in the past, I highly recommend that you do that. I also have an ebook on intermittent fasting on my website as well. So you can scoop up that 12-week program and you can scoop up that ebook on intermittent fasting. That is pretty much how I made my transformation with that combination of calisthenics and intermittent fasting. Now, with that being said, I live by the mindset that we are our own science experiment. You know, we should be playing around with our diet, playing around with our workouts, tinkering with things here and there to try to get it just right. So one thing that comes along with, you know, treating ourselves as a science experiment and, you know, finding that knowledge of self. So I'm a firm believer in having the right tools for the job. And, you know, one thing that's been helping me out and doing wonders with helping me monitoring my intermittent fasting is this device called the Lumen. So the Lumen is a device that actually tracks your metabolism. When you're intermittent fasting, after about 12 hours, you go into a state of ketosis. And during that state of ketosis, your body starts burning 100% fats, or that's what you want it to be doing, burning all fats and not burning any carbs. So once you do that, you can start shredding that body up and you can start getting lean, and like I always say in my videos, losing body fat is more important than actually just losing weight. So once you get to that point where you're in ketosis, if you do some cardio or you go get a workout and you're in that fasted state, you're going to be burning that fat like crazy. So the Lumen actually helps you track all of this. And it also assists you when it comes down to like tracking your meals, tracking your workouts, even tracking your sleep, which is great. It's almost like a bundle of knowledge that you're getting and you're learning about yourself so you can start operating on a way more efficient level. So the way that this device works is that you breathe into the Lumen. The Lumen is actually connected and paired with your smartphone. And once you breathe into the Lumen, it actually accurately measures your metabolism. And it gives you like a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. A 1 being that you're completely burning nothing but fat. 2 is like you're burning mostly fat and a little bit of carbs. And then a 3 means you're burning a combination of carbs and fat. And then once you get to the 4 and 5, you're burning mostly carbs. And once you get to 5, that means that you're probably burning too many carbs. One thing that's great about the Lumen is it helps you with your intermittent fasting and see how effective your intermittent fasting is. And also it's going to help you see how effective your diet is, because if you're consuming too many carbohydrates, the Lumen's going to let you know that. So sometimes I might do like a 16-hour fast and I end up breathing into the Lumen and it tells me that I'm still at a number 3, which means that I'm burning a combination of fat and carbs. But then there's also times when my diet might have been more on point the night before and I'm actually at a 1 and I might not even be fasted for 16 hours. I might only be fasted for like 13, 14 hours. And I'm pretty much burning all fat because my diet was on point and I got that fasting. So guys, right now is the perfect time to order your Lumen, because if you use my discount code, you can get $50 off of your Lumen device. So click the link in the description box below, use my discount code, which is JD, and you can get $50 off your Lumen today. I highly recommend that you guys go and grab a Lumen, especially if you want to make that health and fitness transformation using intermittent fasting and calisthenics. It's really a tool that's going to assist you in a major way. So if you guys enjoyed this content, go ahead and leave me a like. Also leave me a comment if you guys enjoyed this and you guys want to chime in on this conversation, or if you guys want to let me know a video topic that you guys would like me to touch on next. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can get updated every time I drop new content. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys either in the comment section or with a consultation. So hit up my website. I hope everybody's having a great day out there. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.